The first installment in the series is Battlefield 1942. It was developed by EA Digital Illusions CE, now known as DICE, and published by EA. It was developed on the Refractor engine, and 1942 captured the attention of gamers around the globe, being the first online FPS shooter with huge maps that you could traverse using aeroplanes and ground vehicles alike. This was an innovation that would define the genre and would cement DICE and EA a place in the market for years to come. Although the game had certain issues, they were by no means game-breaking, especially considering the innovation of the game. This can also be due to the fact that multiplayer games were by no stretch of the imagination this popular as they are today. Over the years, online players have exponentially increased, and this meant that companies faced different challenges to what they had when 1942 came out. Just as one example, the MMORPG genre has seen an increase in subscriptions from just over 1 million in 2000 to over 19 million in 2013. I know that relates to MMORPGs and Battlefield is a FPS, but still this is a drastic increase in users and would also mean that there were more complicated problems for the publishers and developers alike to solve. Let's move on to the next installment in the franchise, which was Battlefield Vietnam, released in 2004 also by DICE and EA and re-released in 2005 as a Redux version. The game was again a hit, with even bigger and better maps and more variety of vehicles to choose from. The game was heavily criticized though for the artificial intelligence of the single-player campaign. The enemy AI was so bad that on certain occasions the enemy would even ignore the player, notwithstanding the fact that it is being attacked. It is in my view that this is where things already went awry and should have been addressed there. But in true gamer fashion, we just sat back and took it in the arsehole. The game suffered from other bugs as well, however. These were fixed with a few patches. Again, nothing in the league of the single campaign enemy AI, and despite the AI of the single player, multiplayer was still satisfying and quite fun. This brings us to the next game in the series, which was Battlefield 2. Published in 2005, this game seen some great improvements in the gameplay, and the AI issue was clearly resolved from the previous installment. However, there were numerous issues with the multiplayer aspect of the game, which included crashing to desktop bugs and network problems. The innovation of the game came in the form of great level design and the introduction of the commander and squad level command, among others. The server browser had a tendency to be slow, not actually operating everywhere that it should. The game was also extremely spec hungry, with some nasty FPS drops, including some serious lag issues. It seems that the fact that the game was so well balanced and made for some great gaming moments overshadowed these network glitches, and many revere this game as the best online FPS of all time, notwithstanding the bugs. I think this could be ascribed to human nature of sort and the nostalgia effect of the game, and the fact that you more or less only remember the good stuff given enough time has elapsed, and still remains one of the best FPS of all time. The next game in the series was Battlefield 2142 and was released in October of 2006. This game received mixed reviews, but overall was praised. This despite the fact that consumers of the game were quite disgruntled due to the game's very buggy initial release. And EA, only months after the release, released a patch which resolved most of the game's bugs, but widescreen support didn't come until 2 years later, in May 30, 2008. Well, in the end, the companies had taken the consumer for a ride, and not only due to the patch coming out months or years after the initial release, but not even coming to the table with at least some free content. Battlefield Bad Company 2 was subsequently released on the PC in March of 2010, and it received rave reviews. Great vehicle variety, fully destructible environments and changing objectives came together to simulate an excellent Battlefield experience. Squad mechanics was the heart of this game, with almost every aspect encouraging squad coordination and faction teamwork. Superb sound effects create a feeling of a much larger engagement. In contrast to these good points, however, it was possible in some sections of the single player just to charge past the enemy, which then auto-loads the next set of adversaries, completely skipping sections of the game. Almost as if the Vietnam glitches in the AI were creeping back. Well, as well as network issues that plagued the game for the first few weeks of its release. Some of my most memorable gameplay, though, was from Bad Company 2, and I would cherish the game for a long time to come. This being said, I also only got into the game well after it was patched, and this might be the reason I was spared. Then, in October 2011, we saw the release of Battlefield III. The game was very well received by critics, but for some reason the internet is littered with comments and views of consumers that the game is a piece of shit. Which begs the question, are the critics the one to listen to, or are the trolls the one that needs our attention? I suppose the whiny trolls will always be there. Some of my fondest memories from the multiplayer aspect of the game, and although the single player was bland and forgettable, the visuals of the game will be with me for a long time to come. The Frostbite 2 engine was amazing. I still play the game from time to time. This installment saw a lot less bugs and no real game-breaking network issues. However, in October 2013, EA released Battlefield 4. I have never been so excited about a game since the release of Diablo 3, but don't get me started on Diablo. The game promised to be bigger than all the previous installments in the franchise. This would be done by huge set pieces in the maps that would be destroyed, which they called Levolution. For example, a dam will collapse or a giant storm that will all but terraform the environment. Unfortunately, the developer let the ball drop on release. The game suffered severe network and connection bugs. It was plagued with glitches and frame rate drops. It was so bad that I decided not to play the game anymore. The developer later on acknowledged the issues with the multiplayer part of the game and said they were working to fix them, and they would not work on expansions or future projects until the game's problems were resolved. Despite this promise, the game's second expansion was released while numerous recurring problems had yet to be resolved. And it left a bad taste in my mouth that even though patches have fixed the issues, I no longer wish to play the game. Numerous reviewers praise the game for the innovation in level design and balancing game, but it's not for me. Then, the final installment so far in the franchise is Battlefield Hardline, which moves away from the war theme and is rather set as a cops and robbers game. At least the developers learned from their previous mistakes with Battlefield 4 and got the launch right this time, with the exceptions of a few minor bugs. And as previously stated, to expect a shipment of a AAA game without any bugs is unreasonable. However, the developers really let the bomb drop on the actual game elements this time. The single-player campaign was again dreadful, with so many cop drama cliches that it made you sick to the stomach. It almost feels like a slap in the face. The cops and robbers theme really limited the game's developers on the one hand, and on the other hand, they fell short of actually utilizing some of the available elements of the theme. For example, the investigation mode. Despite the new theme, consumers felt like it was a reskin of the Battlefield 4. The multiplayer was also limited, and consumers felt that the developers were merely riding on the name of Battlefield to sell the game, as it did not feel like a Battlefield experience. The majority of the consumers felt that the game lacked innovation, and especially regarding the multiplayer. The Battlefield franchise took a step back and was a cash cow for the publisher. This, of course, brings us to the question, what will DICE do with Star Wars Battlefront? What can we expect from a company that brought us some of the best and some of the worst that there was to offer? Will the publisher and developer respect the Star Wars franchise and ensure that all is well, not only at launch, but that the substance of the game itself is of a high standard? It seems that EA just can't hit the sweet spot where they ensure that the launch and the game is perfect. It seems that it's an either-or situation with them, and that the publisher is not shy to ride on the IP and good name of a previous game, such as we saw in Hardline. Perhaps they too will use the Star Wars franchise and good name as a cash cow. We already know that there's no single player, so at least they can't defecate on the story that is Star Wars. Will the love of Star Wars be enough for fanboys to accept whatever they dish out at us? Or will gamers be critical as they should be? May the Force be with us all until the end of the year when we will find out. However, I beg of you, do not pre-order Star Wars Battlefront and then go on an angry rant in the event that you are disappointed. You have been warned. This has been Geekalot III. Join me next time for a Will It Play of Fallout 4. We'll have a look at Bethesda. And thanks for joining me. I salute you.
Great work. We've driven back the Empire. I wish I could see the Emperor's face right now.